Hello and welcome to Building the Premier Accounting Firm. I'm your host, Roger Connect, president of Universal Accounting Center, and this is a show dedicated to helping you build and thrive as an accounting professional, offering quality accounting services, and most importantly, getting paid what you're worth. It's here on the show that we have experts, basically each and every week, various insights as to what it is we can be doing to work on our business, from training our staff, offering quality services, mental health, perhaps marketing, selling, pricing, just those things that we need to consider as we're growing our businesses, and most importantly, taking care of our clients. Now, as it relates to today's show, I'm excited to have on a guest who has been on the show before. He's one of a handful of individuals that has been on multiple times. It's Ron Saharyan. He happens to be the co-founder and managing director of Profit First. He's someone I've known now for a decade or more, and he's someone that I'm excited to always work with, enjoy going to ProfitCon, and most importantly, helping clients actually eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. So Ron, welcome to the show.
Awesome, Roger. Thank you. And I'm so happy to be back. Thanks for giving me the platform here.
You're very, very welcome. Well, one of the things that I think is very important is what we're doing to do exactly as you've basically predicated, eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. Why is that the mantra of Profit First?
Yeah, because businesses need to survive. When business owners can survive, when business owners are paying themselves first, maybe a little bit more, or at least consistently, where there is a profit. Okay. When even if that profit is 3.5%, the business owners can pay down their debt. They can celebrate the health of their company, or they can hire. When small businesses can hire, that relieves a lot of the stress from the home life. So if we can help business owners survive, the startup rates are awful. You know that. To get to 5 years is awful. 10 years, let alone a generational turnover, it's nonsense. We got to change those statistics. So, the entrepreneur, the small business is the backbone of American economy. We need to do a better job.
There's so much truth in what you just said. And one of the things that I think is very important is the risk that the entrepreneur is taking as they're starting and building their business. And as they're taking that risk, they're doing all this investment of time, money. These things are all with the intent of not just making money, but actually building the economy, servicing their clients. And at the same time, as you're explaining, hiring other individuals to help them provide for themselves, have a standard of living as well. So it's how the world goes around. It's the economy. So I'm going to share with you a story I've never shared, and it's something that I'm curious to get your response to. So okay. I haven't mentioned this before, and I don't know why it hasn't come up, but I was actually at ProfitCon, and I had worn the ProfitCon shirt of the year, and I had it on. And as many of the shirts each year has on there, it says Profit First. And I'm over at an adjacent convenience store near the conference, picking up something to eat or drink or whatever. And as I was there, someone came up to me and very kind of confrontationally said, "Do you believe that? Is that right? How dare you?" And I was like, "Are you really serious? If there's no profit, how does the company not only pay its employees, but how does it expand and grow and take care of its clients? How does it actually have the means to invest in things, R&D, and more importantly, take the next step as it's trying to weather the storms of business?" How do you feel knowing that confrontation happened? How do you feel when people actually maybe let's say, not so interested in corporate profit, if you will?
Right. Awesome. And so profit is not good or bad.
Yeah.
It's people that are either good or bad. All right. Profit is never bad. With profit, like you said, you can be charitable. You can give 10% raises. You can provide technology upgrades. You could sponsor little kids' sports teams. You can buy those overpriced buckets of popcorn that every 8th grade kid is selling to go to Washington, D.C., right? You can afford internships. You can afford benefits. You can offer 6 to 8 weeks paid vacation. You can have half-day Fridays all year round. Profit is good. It's sometimes those individuals that have a lot of money may not necessarily be doing what you want them to be doing with their money.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is so sad is that there is this stigma around profit, and yet it is exactly as you described it. It's very good. And more importantly, so much good can be done with it. When you look at what Bill Gates is doing as he's doing his philanthropic work, as you consider anyone else as being generous to charities and so forth, it's only possible because of the wealth that they've been able to build. And one of the things that I think is very important is we one time had a conversation about how tax is a badge of success. And so many business owners try to avoid being being profitable, just breaking even in their business, only to avoid taxes, when yet tax, as difficult as it is and as frustrating as it is a badge of success. How do you feel about
Yeah.
that?
I agree 100%. But before I answer that question, I want to just
Uh-huh.
go back a little bit to what you said before. And so, profit, right? There is a stigma to that. And I understand it. A lot of people have money trauma, if you
Hmm.
will, for one
Yeah.
reason or another. Word. Cultures have money problems, if you will. Okay. So here's the thing. If you can't get over that word profit, okay, no problem. Change it. Change it to the word purpose.
Mm,
Purpose first. Because when we're talking about profit first, you have sales minus profit equal expenses, right?
that's
That
right.
P is not only representative of profit, it's representative of, yes, the business owner paying themselves. Two, yes, profit. Three, Uncle Sam needs his cut. Four, how about what is your purpose, your mission, your vision? What about a vault? 3 to 6 months of core capital in the house and in the business, right? And so, what we're talking about is a structured financial system. It happens to be called profit first. Call it whatever you want. It's the most neglected system on every business. Okay.
I,
So, right there alone, call it purpose first. We have it in churches, ministries, nonprofits all over the globe.
I love how you use that word purpose. Excellent application of that. That is wonderful. It's a great supplement to profits. Doesn't replace it, but it definitely supplements it and complements it. So that's very good. Now,
Yep.
as you were talking there, one of the things that I think is very important is that mental relationship you were describing that people have with money. And some people have unhealthy relationships. They've been told all along that money is the root of all evil, for example.
Yeah.
And they've been told perhaps money doesn't grow on trees, so it's not readily available. It's elusive. Well, what we're
Rich
trying to
people
do is,
got rich by being mean and nasty. You're not,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, the big thing I want to contribute to this is you cannot give what you do not have. And if you want to do, as you were explaining earlier, be charitable and generous, you can only give what you have. And so that's one of the things that I think is so important is those individuals who have those gifts that they have been given to be entrepreneurial, risk taking, and more importantly, create a product or a service that others can benefit from. They are deserving of that profit because it's only through that profit that they're going to do exactly as you explained earlier, hire that
Right.
next employee, buy that equipment that's needed, take care of their clients, and so forth. So, all that context, let's go back to that thing I was talking about with taxes and
Yeah.
why profit is so important for a business owner. Why is that one of the key things that they need to be striving for as they're evaluating the success of their business?
Well, a couple of reasons. One, when you look to sell your business, what is the EBITDA, right?
Hmm.
What is the actual value of the business? People are buying. I have a small private equity company, and we're buying people, profit, and processes, right? If you haven't shown a profit in X amount of years, oh my God, your company's not worth anything. I
Uh-huh.
don't care what you say. All right. It's not worth anything. And it's a horrible way because a lot of these business owners are thinking that they're going to sell their business and that's going to be their retirement, their 401k. That's their pile of money that they're going to sell. Well, if they've been operating with an accountant or a bookkeeper that's been doing everything they can to minimize their tax liabilities and occurring expenses, their balance sheets are going to be way off and wonky. And it's going to be a horrible experience when they go to sell the business. So if they're in that mindset, it's going to take 3 to 5 years to actually build up that business back up to show profitability. So if we're talking about accounting firms, I'm only paying, you're a one multiple if you're 25% net profit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah, one of the things that I think is so powerful, what you're describing there, is these business owners work so hard to build up this asset that ultimately may be their retirement plan. But at the end of the day, every single year, they show that they're just barely breaking even, all in a vein to avoid paying taxes. But when it comes time to actually now sell the business, it's worth nothing. Not worth less, it's worth nothing. And so all of a sudden, we have to recognize that in order to show there's value, we got to show that it makes money. That's the whole one of the primary purposes of the business is to actually make money. And so as a money making machine, we want to show that it is doing so year over year so that we can actually increase, as you explained, EBITDA.
Yeah.
Now, that context, one of the things that I want to go to is I've been fortunate with Utah or Universal Accounting Center to actually be recognized in the state of Utah as one of the top 100 fastest growing businesses year over year for, I believe it's 7 years or so, with
Nice.
the Inc. 500 and Inc. 5000s,
How dare
multiple
you be
years there.
profitable, Roger?
Yeah, it's a lot. Well, here's where I'm going. There's so many businesses that get listed there based on the revenue that they're generating year over year. They're
Oh,
clearly growing, but I'm always surprised at how many don't come back the next year, not because they didn't grow, but because they don't exist. They went bankrupt. They went out of business. They weren't profitable. So, yes, they had the revenue, but because of all the associated expenses, they were clearly not profitable and they went out of business because
yeah.
it wasn't the priority. Now all of a sudden we get into that one phrase that I'm sure you're familiar with, that revenue is vanity, profit is sanity. Let's be a little bit more sane about what we're doing. So how would you basically talk about this emphasis on revenue, coupled or at least complemented by the priority of profit?
Yeah. So, like you said, revenue is vanity. I simply say, well, how much revenue have you put into your pocket? None. You don't put revenue in your pocket. You put profit in your pocket. If you're
Yeah.
following sales minus expenses equal profit, whatever you have left over, it's not your top line, your sales that you're putting in your pocket. It's the leftover that you're
Yes.
putting in your pocket. Okay. Which is absolutely crazy in my world. That's why profit first is awesome when it comes to tax. The tax account, the tax holding account, these are all holding accounts,
Yes.
like a
Yes.
payroll account, a sales tax account, but the tax account is my favorite account. Why? Because in my opinion, I hated paying taxes.
Oh,
Right? No
yes.
one, because here's what happens: you make $10. Okay, yay, I got $10. Then the government says, no, you didn't. Okay, you actually, let me take my three from you. So it's like, oh my God, they just took away, took away, took away. Well, with profit first, we have a mechanism in place that replaces that three that they took, right? And reserves the money that they're going to be charging you later. So here's when tax bills are due for me. I'm like, ha ha, I got one over on the government. I didn't get one over on the government, but they didn't get me because I have a stockpile of money in my tax account that I can easily push over to them and say, thank you, everybody.
I
So
just
by
actually had a
sharing,
conversation
yeah.
yesterday with one of my clients, and one of them were talking about the profit first philosophy. They've got these different bank accounts that you're alluding to, and one of the things that they were told by their CFO is they were told this is just a lot of busy work and it's smoke and mirrors. You're just putting monies into accounts, and at the end of the day, you just need one account. You just need one thing, and they pushed back as the owner of the business, being a profit first convicted person. They were
Yep.
very convinced of the process, saying, no, this is my sanity. Because at the end of the day, those tax revenues, I know I'm not going to have those to run my business. I have to set those aside because the tax bill will come due and I need to have
Yeah.
those monies there to pay it. I cannot absorb those into my operating expenses and presume I have money I honestly do not have. And so for sanity reasons, they use the profit first principles to
I'm
actually run their
firing that
business.
CFO tomorrow, quite honestly. If okay, right, I get it. This is not designed for the CFO. This is not designed for the accounting firm owner. This is designed for the entrepreneur.
Mhm.
If the way that CFO was doing things worked, okay, wouldn't his clients be more profitable? I'd love to see the list of his profitable clients and see how many there are and what the profitability of them are. How many have gone out? How many are taking loans? How many are living off of credit? How many are living off their line of credit that's coming on in? This is fiscal responsibility. This is the ultimate pay yourself first methodology. It is not overkill. And I'll share why. Five accounts is not overkill.
Yeah.
$250,000 in one account is not a lot of money for most companies of a certain size. So FDIC. So they have multiple bank accounts. It's called treasury management for the larger firms. And so, you know, I could get going and going and going because that CFO is interested in his well-being, not the well-being and the clarity that the business owner is looking for, right? And so this is the Rosetta Stone
Oh,
for
yeah.
the business owner and the CPA. How he wants to do his accrual, how they want to do their accounting and bookkeeping, fine, do it. He's absolutely right. All of the money is the owners pay. It's all of their money. We're just allocating it in a way for financial clarity, something that this business owner clearly has not had under the current structure of the CFO. So if you don't have financial clarity and your CFO is like, oh, you don't need this, you don't need this, I'm going to say you don't need that person. You need somebody that's going to work with you. And especially if you're paying them a premium to provide you with financial clarity, which is what a CFO should do, so you can make sound business decisions based upon the finances. If they're not providing you with that, regardless if they're working on profit first or not, get rid of them.
Yeah, one of the things that I think that's missing in this part of the conversation is the fact that that business owner has a lot less anxiety because they are better able to understand what's going on with their business. Those additional accounts on the balance sheet where they have that different bucket for the payroll and for the operating
Yeah.
expense and for the taxes gives them the confidence to move forward and make decisions because they know that they've got the money to make payroll. They've got the money to actually take care of the taxes when they come due. These things give them peace of mind. And at the
It's
end
a
of the day,
relief.
yes, and that emotion that they have, that peace of mind that they have, gives them the confidence to run their business, where if we did not have those sub accounts in the balance sheet, we have a big, large, nice nest egg, but we don't have clarity as to what's happening
It's a
within the
big
business.
serving tray, you know? So here, Mike and I, we have 20 something accounts at 5 different institutions. Okay. Right. That would maybe blow some people's minds. We're an S Corp. We're a global business. We have lines of revenue. We have licensing deals. We have international currency trades going on and stuff like that. My fiscal clarity is second to none. At any given point in time, I know what my cash position is.
Yeah,
I can make business decisions based upon comings and going. Reconciliation under 8 minutes.
that's beautiful. And I love that clarity. Love that
Yeah.
clarity.
It's
So,
fun. It's fun because when you mentioned the first thing that happens is clarity, right? Or
mhm.
actually relief. The first thing when you work with a certified profit first professional and you're implementing profit first, you're going to get a plan. When you get that plan, you have relief. Okay, relief. Whew. All right, I got a plan now because profit first is a contact sport. You're actually moving money, right? You're moving money from income accounts to these sub accounts.
Yeah.
That is empowering. For the first time, many of these business owners are in control of their money. They are directing it. They are empowered, right? So you have a relief. Now you're empowered. You're like, man, all right, I'm allocated. I'm going. After a couple of months, now I'm focused. I'm focused on what? Growing the business. Why? Because the profit first system is ensuring that I'm paying myself. My expenses are in control. I'm tithing. I have a tithing account, right? I have an insurance account. I have, a new hire account. These are all being funded. Now I'm executing on working on the business versus in the business.
You brought up these additional accounts. That's one of the things that I always bring up is that there needs to be this sixth or seventh account, things that we're actually saving money for, and those additional things that we're going to be doing in
Purpose.
the business. And as we acquire the funds needed, we can then allocate them back into the operating expense account simply because of the fact that we've generated the funds to now hire that employee. So now we can move them into the payroll account. But all of a sudden, what we have is clarity as to what's available for us to make that next big decision. And so
Yeah.
that's one of the things that I really like about these different buckets. One of the things I want to get into, though, is you've already shared the formula. I think this is so powerful. This is, I think, for the business owner, so much more clarity as to how they should be running their business, which is revenue minus profit equals expenses. What more can you say about that formula itself and how it is a little bit different than the accounting mindset?
Yeah, so it's right here, right? And so the traditional equation is you sell, 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 you manage your expenses, and then whatever is left over is your profit. Okay, great. That makes sense, except for it doesn't. Structurally, it's correct, but behaviorally, it's wrong. What comes first is important. What comes last is an afterthought, right? Michalowicz and I, we grew up together. When we were being picked for kickball, I got picked ahead of him. What does that mean? I'm better at kickball than Mike. The last person that got picked is an undesirable, right? You're picking the good first. You're focusing on the good. Okay, so wait a second. So all my life, I've been telling myself that profit is not good, is an afterthought, is a leftover, is a desirable. But early on in this conversation, we just shared profit doesn't have emotions. Profit, it can be good. You can pay down your debt. You can celebrate the health of the company. You can have purpose. You can do tithing. You can do hiring. You can do all sorts of stuff. So if it's that important to us in our business, let's put it first. Okay, sell. Take a little bit of profit. Make sure you're paying yourself. You're building up that profit. You got to pay Uncle Sam because you don't have Mrs. Expensive. It makes it so much easier. You're removing the profit for good. And these structured accounts allow you to accomplish what you want to accomplish in the business. And that might be hiring. It might be profitable. It might be growing. It might be another location. It might be a mission-based business, right? We are a mission-based business. We're here to eradicate entrepreneurial poverty, right? We want to design a culture of attraction, of retention. With profit, you can offer all of these things to attract the people that you want. Now you're walking the talk by living the profit first, providing them with all the great benefits and ancillary things that they are sharing with their husband or spouse or significant other. Like, holy cow, right? That's retention. And the only way you can afford a wonderful culture is if you purposefully design your cash flow with this in mind. And that includes spilt batter, burnt muffins, and freebies. Okay. Why is that important? Because we were just at the coffee shop right next door. We got our lattes, right? These are $5, $7 lattes. Next minute, we know another barista comes around. Here's your lattes. We already got them. That's double work. There's a problem there. That just cut into their margin. Not only did that person waste their time, they wasted materials, they wasted this. That's freebies, burnt muffins, right? All sorts of stuff. We have to include that in our pricing and as we're looking to build the culture of the business, and profit will allow you to do these things.
I'm going to add to your explanation there something that I share as I'm explaining this to business owners and clients and helping them understand the value of doing it this way. The way I explain it is, at the end of the day, when you're running your business, is it going to go very far if you have employees who aren't getting paid? Of course
No.
not. If you can't make payroll, they're not going to stick around.
Yeah.
If you're unable to pay your vendors in order to provide that product or service that you're producing, if you're not able to pay those bills, are you going to be able to stay in business and take care of your clients? Of course not. They're not going to continue providing that product or service you need to deliver yours. So at the end of the day, there's various things that are needed to run the business. Well, the thing that's, I think, illustrative of your example is profit being last is horrible. Why? Because how does the business get paid? And I say, in order for the business to be in business, it needs its compensation. It needs to be paid just like everyone else. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I'm excited now. I've
Yeah.
never heard that. The business needs to be paid. They get
It needs to be
paid.
paid. So just like you have all these individuals that are in the payroll account, all I'm trying to do is I'm trying to say, just like you're going to pay these employees first, you're going to take care of them. How many times have you as the business owner maybe forgone getting paid? You took the sacrifice. Stop it already. What you're going to do is you're going to make profit first, in the sense that profit is paying the company what it is owed for being in business. Because if you do not pay the business, it will go out of business. Why would it want to stick around and stay in business? It needs to be paid. So when all of a sudden the business owner realizes that the company is also on the payroll, it's like, okay,
Wow.
well, how much do I want the company to be paid for being in business? I want the company to make 5,000 a month, 10,000 a month, whatever the number is, 20,000 a month, 100,000 a month. The company has to make something each and every month, just like this employee. If this employee does not make 5,000, 10,000 a month, they're not going to stick around. They're going to go somewhere else. I want the company to stick around. And if every month I'm not able to pay the business, why am I surprised when it goes out of business, like the employee would leave if I never paid the employee? That context all of a sudden says, well, yeah, I want to pay the business. And at a minimum, it's going to get paid $3,000 a month. Okay, 3,000 off the top. Okay, and these employees get paid. We've got to pay the payroll account. We got taxes.
Wow.
Taxes are going to come due. All of a sudden, that expense seems much more realistic, because here's the kicker. The business owner is the steward of the business. The business owner represents the company because the company can't stand up for itself. It's an inanimate object. Who's the voice of the company? Just like you would have a dependent child, that company needs you as the business owner to stand up for itself. And it's basically saying, I need you to tell me how much I'm worth. How much are you willing to pay me for me to stick around? And so, as the steward of the company, it is imperative that you decide what profit that company gets first for being in business. How do you like that example?
I love it. I want to hug you. I mean, you're talking my love language. This was unbelievable. Yes, you're 100% correct. Right. And here's another thing. Okay. Right. People get recruited. A players get recruited. Everybody wants to hire an A player.
Yeah.
Is your company an A player?
Mm-hmm.
How many people want to buy your company? How many people are interested in that? Right? If your company is paying itself 25% net profit, everybody's going to want it. Wow.
Yeah, what we're talking about here is, I think, a very important pivot mindset-wise as it relates to looking at your business. So here's the next thing. What are some profit first myths?
What is what? Profit first myths?
A myth about profit first.
Oh,
What are some
well,
myths that people have about it?
One, that it's accounting. It's not accounting. It's not
Mm.
bookkeeping. It's a system. It's a system that resides between financials and forecasting. Okay. So let's not call it profit first accounting or bookkeeping. You still do that the same way. The other myth is that you don't need all these accounts. You can do it on a spreadsheet. You could do it here. You could do it there. No, because you have human error. I know a CFO that actually got fired because he abandoned profit first and went on a spreadsheet. And the business owner said, do we have enough money in the marketing to do this marketing event? And the CFO said, yep, we have enough money. They had enough money in the OpEx, but he wasn't following profit first. The business owner spent that money, and then he's like, what the heck's going on? Where's money for this? It was gone. Plus, it's human error. Okay. And how often are people updating their QuickBooks? How often are people updating their payroll? I mean, not their payroll, their financials. No, bank accounts are live for the most part. They're real-time data, and it's real. The only money that you have in the bank is what you can actually spend. Right. So that's another myth. Two, it's going to take all this time to reconcile all these accounts. No, it will not. It will if you're doing it wrong, and it will ruin your business. If you do profit first wrong, it will ruin your business. Don't work with somebody that's guessing on your finances. Work with a certified pro. Okay. But listen, these accounts are like a payroll account. They're like a sales tax account. How do you operate a sales tax account? Well, money comes on in, the 6, 7, 8%, puts it on in there. Then when it's time to pay sales tax, you take that money out, you put it in your OpEx, and you write a check. I'm saying, if it's so important to you, Mr. CPA and your old agent, for your customer to have a sales tax account because they've spent it in the past and it's not their money, but they haven't paid themselves, they're not profitable, why don't we just follow the same methodology? It's that simple, right? And so those are three of the biggest myths. Okay. That, as well as, I'm too big. Right. My company's too big. We haven't implemented in $100 million construction company. Mm-hmm. Okay. Applications. I'm a startup. I'm too small. Every single one of Mike's and my businesses that we have started with profit first as its fiscal foundation. It's awesome. And it can work in any business, in any industry. The problem is that a lot of people are open to profit first. They're open to new ideas because their business is struggling. Then once they're open to new ideas, this is where the key comes on in. If they are interested in doing it, they have to stick with it. Okay. This is where we need to strengthen our mental fortitude. We have to enjoy the suck of learning. Too many people quit too early on everything, especially profit first, right? That's why you need an accountability partner, a trainer, if you will, somebody that's going to make sure you go to the gym when it's raining.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Right. But people quit too soon. And so here's the example that I share. We have kids, Roger, right? My daughter's younger than your children. And
Yeah.
when TikTok first came out, Daddy, can I borrow your phone? I'm like, all right, Jane, here you go. She takes my phone. She's messing around on it. I'm like, I'm getting bored because it's taking her forever to figure out the phone. Then she's doing these little dances. These dances are horrible. She's trying to do them again, trying to move again. I'm like, oh, all right. Finally, 4 years later, I mean, the kid's a whiz at all this stuff, right? Knows the phone better than me, knows how to do this, know this. It blows my mind how advanced she is on this. She doesn't even do TikTok. She's into other stuff now. Okay. Around that same time, she started learning Spanish. 4 or 5 years later, not so good at Spanish.
Not so good.
No, but don't judge my parenting skills, please. Okay. But here's the thing. She saw the future. She realized she saw that there was something better there. She was close. She was getting through the suck of learning these dances in the technology. Those are her mental synapses refiring. That's what's happening with Profit First. It's uncomfortable. It's new. It's different. You have to go through it. You have to start bench pressing a little bit and going more and more and more. Do not quit. Keep going. You're so close. So those are the myths.
I like this. Now I'm going to transition for my accounting listeners and really give an application here that I think is going to be very, very powerful. So when you're moving from bookkeeping, accounting, tax related services into the CFO advisory space, one of the things that's very powerful is the relationship you have with your client. They're paying you for something more than the bookkeeping, accounting, and tax that you're traditionally providing.
Yeah.
It's definitely going into that advisory role where you're holding them accountable, you're exposing them to new principles to help them with their business. How does Profit First help an accounting professional move into that advisory space?
Yeah, it provides them with conversation talking points, basically, right? By offering Profit First, they're going to be able to see the ebbs and tides. They're going to see the money coming in and the money going out. They're going to be able to be predictive with it. They're going to be able to, say, "Oh, Roger, this is awesome. What's going on here? What was that marketing event?" Or before money isn't coming on in enough. Okay, what are we going to do? And so Profit First is an early warning sign of things going wrong. It's also an early warning sign on what to double down on. Like, I'm not sure if that answered your question.
No, it does help, because here's why I'm going to add to that. When I was back offering CFO and advisory services, working as a business coach, one of the things that I found is, first, from a marketing point of view, some of the things that I was explaining didn't resonate. It just didn't draw attention. I could say I can help you increase revenue. I could say I'll help you understand accounting. None of those had that sexy appeal that caused the business owner to pause and say, "Could you explain a little bit more?" But when I said I can help you improve profit, they're like, "Okay, help me understand that." So when there were 5 things I identified that we offered as a service, the 4th being improved profit, of the 5, that was one of those that caused them to say, "Tell me more." The second thing is when you get them as a client and you're now working with the client as an advisor, they're paying you for that engagement. Profit First gave some actionable things that you could do to implement within the business to build those bank accounts and move the funds around. It gave us something as part of the engagement that was outside of the accounting model that felt like, okay, now we're doing something in my business that's a little bit more sexy and appealing. It's giving me greater clarity and confidence in running my company, which is exactly what I'm hoping the client will experience as they're actually going through this engagement with me as their advisor. I want them to feel these things, and the Profit First philosophy helped enable those things to be experienced by the business owner. Now they're feeling like, I'm glad I have this relationship with the accounting professional, because I feel like I'm taking my business to a whole new level financially. That's one of the things that I think Profit First enables, is both marketing clarity, a pricing platform to basically say, here's what an engagement ought to cost, but ultimately it's that actionable thing that over the coming months that I can implement with the client that helps them feel like they're moving the needle. Does that make sense?
Yes. So it's so funny you say that. Not funny, but it's great that you said that, because what we've done over the past 10 years, right? We boiled everything that we've learned over the years and created a CFO playbook, a playbook that is not going to bog the end user down with fancy charts, graphs, dashboards that no one's using anyway, right? We're going to arm our members with conversations, because Profit First, like we said, isn't accounting or bookkeeping. It's management accounting right? You generate reports, okay, fiscal reports, and then you have conversations about them, which is what business owners want. They want to have conversations, okay? So we weave in strategic conversations that come with each package. That's a little bit, nuanced when it comes to value pricing, right? But what are you saying during these conversations? What are we actually doing? And so profit first, everything from income analysis, income targeting, product profit analysis, right? Paying fixed benefits. These are all strategic conversations that we're arming our members with. That profit first is providing them the clarity that they can then say, hey, look what I noticed that you're trending up. Have you done any marketing initiatives that that are going on? Wow, how did you know? Well, I saw money coming on in, yeah, right? And so, hey, let's talk about this. Or they could say they're noticing trends, they're noticing cash trends. And so that's what it is just being able to be available for the customer and have business conversations, right? That's what we're talking about. Business conversations. We're not talking about compliance conversations. We're not talking about in the weeds conversations. We're talking business owner to business owner, strategy on how are we going to grow this business? What are the decisions we need to make that are going to move this business forward? Let's make sure we don't make these previous decisions again. Right. And I need the advice from a fiscal perspective, somebody that can actually have a conversation with me about what we're trying to accomplish. That's what Profit First offers people.
I love it. I'm going to add one more thing. In addition to the tax conversation we had earlier and money being in the payroll and the operating expense account, one of the big takeaways I feel is the disconnect that oftentimes occurs between accrual accounting and money being in the bank. There's this, I've got the money, but where is it? To have a profit. Yeah.
Right?
So if I could have a profit account where I was at the very beginning putting monies in, even though the monies may not match, if I'm able to say the company's profitable from an accrual point of view and point to a profit account to say, yes, you do have profits, even though they may be a little different in numbers, at least there's something tangible there to point to and say, but it's working. Everything you're doing is working. And so that's one of the big takeaways. So is there a number one tip for success that you have?
Oh, yeah. So my number one tip for success that I share with everybody, whether you're in high school, college, you're a little kid or a professional just starting out, I have a golden rule. My golden rule is do what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it and do it 3% better than expectations. If you do that, you will be a rock star partner, husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, employee, owner, everything. Because as a leader, people are looking at you as a business owner. If you're not doing what you say you're going to do by when you say you're going to do it, how do you expect your staff to follow that? And right, expectations need to be met. If I'm giving, say, Roger, I'm giving you a task to do, and I have 100 employees, and 100 employees are all doing a relative task. Everybody does their job task. Great, yay! Everybody met expectations. How are you going to rise to the top? How are you going to set yourself apart if you're in a rookie class, right, of all newbies coming on in, or you just got hired, to take over a role and there's other project managers? How are you going to set yourself apart? Easy. Do it 3% better than expectations and you will get the rewards.
I love that. It's very similar to one that I have. Arrive early, stay late, and be the one who works harder than everyone else. So yeah, I like that 3%. That's very good.
Well, be the first too. Be the first, right? Like, so I was coaching my daughter. I'm like, Jane, if be the first. Why? One, okay, it shows ambition, it shows gut, it shows courage. Two, the first gets to make mistakes because they showed the courage to try to do it. And listen, when you make mistakes, you learn, you stress yourself. When you stress yourself, you get better, right? And you grow the courage to continue to move forward, to try new things because you're not afraid anymore. You might not hit it out of the park, but if you develop this skill set of trying to be the first, right? Don't be afraid. Don't, ask the question, get the help. You're never going to get what you don't ask, right? We talked about that earlier. You have to do it.
I like
those. Yeah.
Yeah. These are very good. Last thing. What does it mean to be a profit first professional?
Yeah, it means you're one of the select few, somebody that is walking the talk, somebody that's able to architect the bank accounts and the cash flow to not only eliminate the pains, but achieve the wants of the business owner. They are an intimate partner with their customers. They genuinely want their customers to succeed, and they want to have conversations, and they want to stand out from the competition. Right? They want to make more money, stand out from the competition, help their members, and they do it with passion.
Very well said. I love this. Well, Ron, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start wrapping this up. And as I do so, I'm going to come back to you for a closing thought. But before we begin, there was an offer that you'd like to extend to everyone regarding the book
Yeah.
Profit First. What would you like to say?
I'm gonna raise the offer. Originally, I had 5 copies of Profit First to gift to your audience. I'm gonna raise that to 10. So if anybody has not read Profit First, I would love to gift you a copy of Profit First. If you're one of the first 10, if you're a Profit First professional, maybe you want to get it and give it to one of your customers, right? But all you have to do is email Roger, his team. He'll forward me over your address, and I'd be more than happy to gift you a copy of Profit First.
I'll even make it even easier. Go to LinkedIn, find me on LinkedIn, direct message me that you'd like your copy of Profit First. I'll just need your contact information. Obviously, I'll be needing your address in the direct message. And with that, I'll actually pass that along to Ron so he can ship that out to you. So that'd be an easy fix. And awesome. I would love that. You're very kind, Ron. Thank you for that. As in addition to that, I want to invite you to go to the episode description and get a copy of the book, Your Strategic Accountant. It is a book written specifically to you as an accounting professional to help you understand what services you need to be providing and offering. And it addresses this offer of CFO and advisory services. What does that look like? What does it take to become one? And then in addition to that, I want to actually encourage you to get the book, Your Profit and Growth Expert. It's there that you actually learn what it is to actually step into that space of CFO and advisor and how you can service your clients in there as basically that trusted accountant. And most importantly, help them take their businesses to that next level, applying a number of principles and processes such as Profit First, like we've discussed here today. So go to the episode description, get a copy of Your Strategic Accountant and Your Profit and Growth Expert. See what it is you can do to become the premier accounting firm in your area. Now, as a recap of our conversation today, I love this conversation. First of all, we were starting with profit, and I brought up this stigma that some people have that profit isn't a good thing. And I loved how Ron was able to tie to that this idea of purpose, the intent that profit is also very synonymous to purpose, what it is that you're doing as a business. We also talked about why we're with the Profit First philosophy able to make a difference in businesses. Why? Because at the end of the day, you want to be profitable as a company. Unless you're making money as a business, you do not have a valuable asset. And at the end of the day, EBITDA is going to be determined based on whether or not you're making money. Tax is that badge of basically success. If you're successful, you're going to be paying taxes, unfortunately. But the point is at the end of the day, we can mitigate the tax liability, but we don't want to mitigate the profit. We want to show that we're actually running a successful company. And with that, Ron was so good to be able to explain the good things that we can do with the profit. We can hire employees, grow the business. We can basically support the local communities, give back with charity, take care of the tithes that we're owing. These are the various things that we can do as businesses to ensure that we're not just staying in business and eking by. The other thing that we did is we talked about how profit is one of those things that as accounting professionals, we can be very involved in. It's not a replacement of the bookkeeping process, but Profit First, this formula actually does help eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. Why? Because it's a mindset shift. It allows us to prioritize profit, having still the funds to operate the business, but at the end of the day, have pride in what we're running. And I really love the fact that we were able to talk about that. Loved his tip, the idea of actually putting a little bit more than everyone else, that 3% rule. That was phenomenal. Why? Because of the fact that I think we all needed to kind of step up our game and become those committed individuals that we should be. So excellent advice there. Lots of little tidbits along the way as to what it is that we can be doing as accounting professionals to make profit deliberate for our clients and really step into that CFO advisory space. So if you would like, definitely check out more information as it relates to becoming a Profit First professional. See what Ron's explaining here and how it can be applied to not only your clients, but your own business, and see what it is you can do to actually make profit a priority and eradicate entrepreneurial poverty. In fact, perhaps your own. So Ron, with that, what would be a closing thought?
You said it all, Roger. I mean, besides may the profits be with you, I have nothing more to add to that.
You are awesome, Ron. It was a pleasure, just as I had expected, to have you on the show again. Thank you again for taking the time out of your day to join us. One of the things that I want to do for my listeners is definitely invite you, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast. We'd love to have you join us each and every week as we have experts on the show to share these various insights as to what it is you can be doing to have the premier accounting firm in your area. In addition, I want to invite you to go to universalaccounting.com. It's there that we have a podcast section in the navigation where you can actually find highlights. These are past episodes that we've actually had, and we've compiled them into playlists that you can binge listen. Go there, find those things that are specific to your particular needs or situation today, and dive into what the experts are saying as it relates to marketing, selling, pricing, training your staff, mental health, just a variety of things that you need to be aware of as you're running your business, and you'll actually find Ron in that list. Now, in that sense, one of the things that I want to also invite you to do is check out the free resources. It's there that you'll actually have access to the free books that I'd mentioned, Your Strategic Accountant, Your Profit and Growth Expert, and a multitude of other things, additional books, courses, white papers, things that you need to be aware of as it relates to running your business and, in fact, having the premier accounting firm in your area. So go to universalaccounting.com, check out the free resource section. Lastly, I want to invite you to actually join us for GrowCon. GrowCon is a conference for owners of bookkeeping, accounting, and tax businesses. It's here at GrowCon. We have on the stage the experts sharing with us the things that we need to know as it relates to running a successful business. It's here you also get to meet your peers, hear from those people that are successful, but also interact with those that, like you, are running successful businesses, build friendships, build your community. At the same time, collaborate, find out how you can better service your clients. This is a phenomenal opportunity to actually connect with those that are in the same line of work that you are. Lastly, I invite you to actually visit my team, my staff, who are committed to helping you be in business for yourself, but not by yourself with Universal Accounting. Join us for GrowCon, and I'm excited to see you there. So with all that being said, if you would like more information about these and other topics, feel free to join us. Go to universalaccountingschool.com or give us a phone call at 801-265-3777. Take care. Have a great day and be safe out there. Ron, that was awesome.
Awesome. Nice. Fun. Great job, man. You're a fun interview.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to now have you do that promo piece that I put in the chat.
Yep. You ready?
Yep. When you are.
Hi, I'm Ron Saharyan, co-founder of Profit First Professionals, and I just finished my episode of Building the Premier Accounting Firm podcast with Roger Connect. We talked about profit first. We talked about purpose first. We talked about the importance of running a fiscally healthy business. Check out the episode. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode of the Premier Accounting Podcast.